Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to the Humanus Global Conference Call. Glad to have you on board with us today. I am your host, Will Barney, and glad to have you here on this sunny day, June 28th. As we get close to Independence Day, there's certainly a lot of things going on. That's great. We'll get to some of that today in our call. Want to start, as we usually do, with our safe harbor statement, after which we'll jump right into the balance of the call. All information provided in this call is for educational purposes only. We are not investment nor legal advisors. All statements made by participants on this call are of their own opinion and do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Humanus. Statements related to potential world events, currency exchanges, historic bond compensations, new technologies, or the timing of any event are personal opinions and should be independently verified before acting upon them. Statements related to Humanus' future plans, funding, expectations, beliefs, intentions, and prospects are forward-looking statements. They're subject to material risk and uncertainties. Many factors could affect our current expectations and our actual results, and could cause actual results to differ materially from what has been stated. Before taking action on any of the information included in this call, please consult with your own personal, financial, and legal professional for advice. Humanus does not undertake any duty to update any statement in light of new information, changes, or future events. Well, with that out of the way, we'll get right into the balance of the call, folks. I just wanted to make a brief announcement here that Jersey won't be joining us today. He is tied up in some meetings dealing with some financial details that need to be handled for the company, and we're grateful for his effort there. So we'll miss you, Jersey. Glad that you're on top of things. Thank you much for that. We've got some interesting things going on right now throughout the world, and I'm sure many of you have been watching the news, as well as a lot of stuff that's going around on the internet, and you're wondering, when does it get better? When does it change? And hopefully very soon, folks. I think for many of us, though, the changes could come by our choices. And, each of us have the opportunity to get up every day and to do what we do because we do it. We make decisions. We make choices every day, and those affect our lives. And I'm proud of some of the decisions that I've made. I'm not happy about some others that I've made. I'm sure we all have that, perhaps some regrets at some things and a little bit of pride at other successes. It's always great when you knock one out of the ballpark and you just see that ball going. You know you've done one for the good of yourself and others. And we're not perfect. We're human beings with frailties, and there are issues that come up in our lives that affect each one of us. And how we handle those and how we deal with each other becomes the making of our lives. That's been interesting here at Humanus. We've been working for many years now. Some of you have been a part of this with us for some period of time on these calls. But we've been at this much longer than when we get to calls, and it's been a very fascinating experience to see human nature unfold. And I'm happy to see that there are many that are choosing to do good, that are preparing, whether it be projects or various charities or things that you want to do to make life better for others. That you're seeing that come out of your experience. Your experience is shaping how you approach those projects. Some of them become very passionate for you. And I hope that each of you are seeking that. I hope that each of you are seeking the passion in your life, the thing that gets you up every day, that really moves you, because that will be, I believe, the greatest contribution you can make to mankind. And it's if we get into various things that are occurring, please keep in mind that we're here for each other, for humanity. And sometimes our judgments cloud that humanity. At times that it takes place. One of the things that's been a little bit disturbing for me recently is learning about all the people that are slinging accusations at my brother Jersey. Seeing this man work tireless hours for the good of humanity, and some of those accusations are hurtful, calling him a scammer because she has collected funds to help others. I just want to say a couple of words about that because many of you probably may not know some of this, but it was I that was the disperser of most of those funds. And I have the records, and I know to whom they went. And I can tell you that I'm awful gosh darn proud of the work we did. There wasn't much that came in. It wasn't as large as probably many rumors circulate around. But for how many people were helped and what we accomplished, man, I'm proud of that. And I have a lot of thanks to give to my brother, Jersey, because he saw the need and sacrificed many times his own personal comfort for others. I saw him evicted. He's had phones shut off. He's had various things happen because he paid someone else's bill before his own. Now, he didn't have to make that choice, but it was the choice he makes when he gets up every day. It's a choice we all make when we get up every day. What will our lives be? And who will be a recipient of the blessings that we have to give? There is so much going on, so much behind the scenes that we don't understand, and it becomes easy to judge it, to say, well, this hasn't happened in this time frame, so this must be sideways. It could be that it just takes that long. I can tell you that there are wonderful things going on behind the scenes. We are still under blackout, and I cannot speak to those specifics. But I can say that they are marvelous, they are wonderful, and there will be many projects blessed by these efforts. There's a lot of talk about various transactions of bonds, currencies, and other such things. We've had a lot of conversation on these calls about it. And I've got to tell you that if you're in that situation with great anticipation of some gain, take a moment to assess what you will do with that, how you would use those funds for your life and for others, and take a look at what can be done to bless the world. I know that it's a great chance to do this. These transactions are going to become the fuel and the means of blessing millions of lives all over the world, of changing the paradigm to one of love, understanding, and acceptance, one of encouragement, where everyone has an opportunity and a chance to pursue their dreams. I hope that we dream. I hope some of you are taking opportunity to dream. It's hard. It's hard when the world tells you it can't be done. It's hard when the world tells you that there's not enough. Don't listen to the words of lack out there. They seem to be mounting as fear makes its way. There will be storms. We've all had the fear storms in our lives where we just feel like we almost can't do another day because it seems so scary. But I can tell you, my friends, that it's beautiful. That when we reach past that fear, when we extend ourselves in faith, knowing there's a better way, we find ourselves blessed on the other side and our friends with us, and it's just joyful. So, lots of rumors going on. I'll shift gears here for a second. A lot of rumors about politics, what's happening in the government, a lot of rumors about how that might affect some of these transactions. What I can tell you in a general sense, without getting, too specific, and I've got to obey the blackout. So I want to say some things, but I've got to keep general. I just want to say this, that there isn't a governmental event or a person that's sitting there with their foot on the stop button saying nothing of this is going to happen because I say it won't. There is, however, a great amount of people working to get it done. And it is complex. It is challenging. because of the size of some of these funds, it involves a whole different level of complexion when you look at well, if you just look at the compliance portion of it. Compliance is huge. Who are the individuals receiving them? Are they criminals? Are they not? Who's going to have use of this? And then what will the people do with those? We are seeing, and we expect to see more of a checks and balance system in place. Some of those will be in the form of down payments, with the rest structured over time. And then there will be a watching of how you do it. If you do what you say you're going to do, and you start blessing the world with projects, then the money will continue to flow. If you don't, there could be a conversation about whether it continues to flow. These things are put in place to help all of us to be a little more benevolent than we've been in the past. I do believe, and I know for a fact, as I've seen the accounts, there is more than enough on this earth that when we disperse this and we begin the process of creating the jobs and setting these things up, this will be an undertaking unlike as the world's ever seen. It's never been done before to this magnitude, but it will be done now. And it is being done quietly. I know that makes you crazy. It makes some of us crazy when there's just not enough information, right? I just wish I knew something, so I knew what was happening. But it has to be quiet or it gets interfered with. And the interference has been the bane of the delays. You look at all of this that's happened over the last few years, everybody's saying, why delay, why delay? It's because of interference. And sometimes it's best to do things quietly without information flooding everywhere, have interference affecting you. This is what's going on in the general sense. And it is good. It is fabulous. It's great for all of us that are involved. I do have Doug on the line here with me, and I want to turn a little bit of time to him because he's been out, in the trenches, if you will. And I've got to get his line opened up here. Hold on a second, Doug, I'll unmute you. But just before I sign off here, turn some time to Doug, just want to let you folks know that I'm proud about what we're doing. I'm proud about who you are that come and attend these calls and are with us and are stepping up to change the world. You do it every day. I've heard reports of people paying others' groceries bills, paying for gas at a gas pump, and the list goes on, just because they thought it would be a good thing. Keep doing that. Keep blessing others, and you'll see the blessings come to you. Turn some time now to Doug. Doug, you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Sure can. Good to have you.
Well, I'll just touch on a few things to get the party started. Let's go to the rumor mill, which I don't like to perpetuate rumors, but some of them are the bucket's starting to hold a little water. So for those of you in expectation, there's a couple things you may see occur. One is that the funds, I'm told, are moving, but I've been hearing about it now for literally months. And it seems like every week it's the same thing. In some cases, it was so profound that you were, quitting a day job, packing your luggage, to go on vacation and buying a new car. I mean, it was that prolific where it's just, it's going. But I always keep myself reserved because of the movement of funds and how money works. And when you start researching into how funds flow through the banking system, and you look at the designated end result of this event, or what is out to be accomplished, and how can it be accomplished. Now, the little gory details that we don't know about, like Bill said, or Will said, it's very complex, very massive in its structure. So the funds started moving. It started from Australia, actually New Zealand, Australia, and worked its way to the West Coast. There was, and I don't even know what this is, a ransom virus. I don't even know what that means. But it was confirmed that through some of the agencies out there that a big worm got thrown into computer systems through banks, planes, and so on. In fact, I had the article sent to me from Forbes. Forbes reported on it. That was a glitch. They phrased it as a glitch. Supposedly got handled on yesterday. So I don't know. All the folks that are going in for TTMs, all the folks that have been paid, have been given SKRs, that have funds, but there's administrative holds on them. It gets massive in its nature. They hear it from everywhere. But at the end of the day, you definitely have to deal with actualities. So I would draw everyone's attention to a website, because I started researching into this. I look for the common things that everyone has to use. And one of them is the transfer of funds. How do funds transfer? How do you deposit money into banks? How do you pull money out of banks? So I went and started asking, and I found the Bank Secrets Act. BSA is what it's called. So when you educate yourself, Google it. The BSA, the Bank Secret Act, is a detailed dictionary on how money moves from bank to banks, how you deposit in the banks, and the laws that coordinate it. Now, when you start reading this, I read for 20 minutes and didn't get through half of it in one page of 100 pages. It is so complex, and so it reads like a tax code. The common person does not figure. I don't know how they could figure it out. The big boy bankers, who banking attorneys, people that specialize in the field may have it figured out like a tax attorney. But the common person, I can't figure it out. And I got an Ivy League education. I'm pretty good with numbers. You would need all the volumes of it in order. I should open it up and read it to everyone. It's just amazing. The reason I bring it up is when you wonder why we get delayed. How are our funds delayed? How are other funds delayed? What's the delays? It all has to do with these mechanisms in a system that is put into place globally, fostered by either actual or invented events that take place in the world. Examples are the Patriot Act, Dodd-Frank, the money laundering laws. All of these things that were created because of either it's for good reason or not, but it puts controls in place. And they're going to initially come up with this and put it out there in order to control these funds. As they come out, whatever form they come out in, they're going to have to follow the dictation of these laws. The Bank Secrets Act. So all banks run off of. If the bank doesn't adhere to them, they're subject to fines, and they lose their FIC insurance policies. They have to abide by it. Try depositing money into anybody's account. Try to deposit cash into an account. If you're paying your rent, buying a car, loaning your brother some money, whatever it may be, you can't do it. You have to have an ID with you. And then the receiver, whoever's the teller on the end of that screen, they have an arbitrary decision-making policy where if you look like a criminal, if they think for any reason something's wrong, they don't have to accept the cash that you won't be able to put in the bank. That's just an example of what's been going on for years. Bank Secret Act was ratified in 2013, along the same lines as the FATCA laws. So these events that you see taking place really come out of the 2010 banking reform laws, the new reform codes that are coming out that have been everybody's working on. These things are happening all process leading to where we're at now. And I've mentioned before our calls, what we're going to have conversations about now are the inability to move money and the inability to access your funds when it comes to you. And if you read through that and see how convoluted it is, they created a solution looking for a problem. We have a solution looking for a problem. That's what they've done. This banking community has done. They had the solution in place. Then they created the problems to fit the solution. So they have an end goal on controls. Those that have been running this don't think they're not rolling with the blows. They're not being beat into the dirt, ends up in giving up. This whole cabal network of banking. There has to be a mutual understanding to work with these new paradigms that are coming. The AIB, the CIPS, the Russian payment system, the RPS, the CIPS, the BRICS banks, the FATCA laws, new trade agreements. All of these things are components of the events that are about to happen. But when these events happen, when we say start, we don't want to walk into this blind under the assumption that all of a sudden everything is going to become easy. That's why these control mechanisms are really growing and becoming more and more strict in their compliance under it. We have been delayed for I don't know how many years. And when I started looking at how wire transfers work, now if you're a company and you have a path where you've been doing business, so you see funds move back and forth, you've established your path, you're kind of, for lack of a better word, grandfathered in. You are known, taxes are paid on it, everybody knows about you. Average business. So average business and how they move money back and forth is not disrupted. But any kind of new things that come in have to fall under these guidelines. We've been hit with it so many, there's always one more thing. They forgot a compliance thing. They forgot this compliance. You went through this guy and he didn't do exact. And I'm telling you, it is so exact that any one of these components and articles that are wrote in to the BSA, the Bank Secrets Act, any one of those can stop the transfer of funds. Right down to a box that's not checked. If it's a blank box, but you did everything else right, funds won't move. That's what I mean by how strict they have become. And you see this building of the borders, so to speak, to keep us all corralled when these funds do come out. Yeah, so I think there's going to be some pretty strict controls. There's another one for everyone. It's also in the wind that the price of the historical assets will be dropping and compensated by the rise of the values of currencies. The reasoning behind that is the humanitarian projects. Again, remember the end goal, poverty eradication by the year 2030. That's the sum of all events. And all this stuff, that's what it's all aimed at. Even in the bylaws now of the IMF. Poverty Eradication Program, PIP. With all that going on, the currencies can be designated to projects. There's systems that are usually watched when it comes to the currencies. Not so with bonds. So when these unpaid sovereign debts are actually compensated for, which is their responsibility based on the 2010 reforms, it's part of the quota they have to do, balanced budgets and relief of all prior debt. But they don't have control when they give you the funds off of those. They don't have the same controls that they do with the currency to monitor your projects. So it's better spent going to the project or going to the currencies as opposed to bonds because it's easier to control and to make sure it goes where it's supposed to go. Self-entitlement, profiteering, not components of this event. If you become one of those persons due to dire circumstances that you've been thrown into, waiting for this, doesn't change the reality. And the reality is what these funds are designated to do. And they're designated for propping up humanity. Now, how many people, I mean, as a human being, you go through life in your circle of influence, worried about keeping your own alive, but doing the right thing around you. There's times you just don't have time to think about somebody else. You just don't. You've got too much worry on your plate. It's very difficult to spread it. Now, propped up, capitalized, put your world in order, you're going to become a different person. You may be happy in the short term because you just took all the stress off the mind, or you're just going to go out and spend money and relax and look down from your mountain at those that don't have. Or you're going to be that person who's going to prop themselves up, nothing wrong with that, secure your family's future, then step out in the world and pay it forward. We've been talking about it quite a while. Paying it forward can be a very simple thing. What can one person do? One person can do many things. It's all about timing. At the right time, doing the right thing. There's been times where a nickel meant more to me. When you haven't got a nickel, that's the most important nickel in the world. You give that nickel to somebody, you've given up everything that you have. As opposed to I'm a multimillionaire and I gave somebody 10 grand. That nickel was more important. If all you have is time, and that's the most valuable thing that you have, that creates a different balance of morality. That's the little drummer boy is given whatever you have. It does not have to be monetary. It can be your time. It can be a gesture. Very small things. Once we bring all people doing this and getting into it, which will take years to retrain our world, how can we believe? It's very difficult for the world. It's difficult for the world to believe that people will do things without expecting anything in return. And this is why Humanus comes under attack. Jersey comes under attack. The guy, I'm with Will and backing up his play. You don't know him. Some people that do, some people that don't. But this is a true humanitarian. It's embedded in him. It isn't, I'm going to go do something because I know if I do something, something good is going to happen to me. You're performing an act of kindness because you think you're going to sit back and wait for the happiness bus to show up and pay you back. That's how it works. You do it because it's the right thing to do. I've seen kids get roofs put over their head, their rent paid, people living in cars that had to have some place to sleep, medical bills of people that were dying. I can go on for an hour on what that guy has done. To listen to this BS that comes out, because of people that were going to get a gift, be funded or a grant, or get some type of compensation, and because of the delays, it hurt them. They just now turn their backs and fire back and want to assault and attack. There's no other way to go. It was a gift. I didn't get it on time, therefore you're fault. So you all of a sudden are back at me. I don't want them kind of people around me anyway. And when I started digging into how money actually moves, if you all would look up Bank Secrets Act and read it, you'll get some indicator of the battle, of how hard the battle is. And that's documented. But to turn around and flip these back to people who literally would take the shirt off their back and help other people is, to me, disgusting. I've been wanting to just blast people, but I'll turn into a foul mouth, and most of you people will never call back in because I will rip anybody who wants to call in and start arguing or accusing about things they know absolutely nothing about. Our goals with Humanus do not require negative people in the fold. Don't need them, don't want them, have a nice day. Maybe somebody along the line will say a prayer for them if their life turns around for them. But we are not put on this earth for our own self-interest. We are put on this earth to help others. It is embedded in our DNA. That's what humans are meant to do. That's why they call it humanity. We're here to help people. And there is no giving up. There is no taking your bag and put my toys in and going home because things didn't go your way that day. There is no end to it. There is no such thing as defeat. We cannot. This is a marriage of humanity. By death shall we part. The only way any of us and our team and those dedicated to our cause of helping others, the only thing that can stop them is tragedy. It will go until their legs fall off and they run out of breath and they've used every resource possible. They're bought in because they get it. They've been touched by that spirit of helping other people. It needs to be done. We think it's there. With all these components in place and what I see moving in funds, I've seen all of it. I've seen the accounts. I've got process in how it works. I know about the administrative holds that are on the money. Can't talk about any one in particular thing. I'm saying this is general statements, but it is moving forward. Just can't tell you when. Just because it keeps starting, stopping, starting, stopping, doesn't mean it's not going forward. It's just reality. Again, because of the fiscal and financial systems that monitor and dictate the flow of finances throughout the world. It's a very complex thing. These are small amounts of money, let alone large sums. If these monies come out right now based on the capital controls that we see going on, that's a point. You know how many people would be so mad? Where you go to your bank, you cash in your currencies, about you have millions of dollars sitting there, and you go in to pull a 20 out, and you say, you're going to have to wait. Well, as your roof is falling in, the tires are falling off the car, you got all the money in the bank to pay for it, but you can't touch it. Tell me that's not going to create a little anxiety in public. You want to hear about an uproar then. So you better have your act together when you do this, or else everybody's going to be going to the streets globally. We total mayhem. So, knowing that, think of the bad guys' agenda. That's exactly what they want. They want to create the problem. They're a solution waiting for the problem. So what do? They want to create the problem because they're sitting in the woods just waiting to run out of the woods and save the day. You can watch it through history, but it's always worked the same. So the good news is for everyone, I think things are definitely moving forward. I don't know if it's going to flop. It smells that way to me, that it'll go into the third quarter. Because when I get there's all this mayhem going here this close to the second quarter. It's just too much bookwork.
One of the things that seems to be a little bit obvious, or maybe this is a little obvious on my radar now. This isn't, I'll say this, but this isn't, Bible truth exactly how it's going to lay down. But I can tell you that this whole idea that, there'll be some 800 number and I'll just call in and set an appointment and all will be hunky-dory. I'm not sure who started that. I have no idea, but this is not just a simple window time. Because when you actually get down to the documentation portion of it, it's serious documentation for each individual. So, don't be surprised when you've got to jump through some hoops in order to conclude.
Yeah, prove you are a human being. I had the DMV call me one time, send me a nasty letter, and you say, well, you own this 1994 Chevy pickup. And I go, no, I don't. You go, well, yeah, you do. Our records show you do. Prove to us that you don't own it. You go, what do you mean prove to you I don't? How do I do that? How do you prove it? How do you prove you don't own it? That's the type of nonsense we're going to be dealing with.
Yeah.
So prove to me that you're not a bad person. Okay. How do I do that? Referrals? I'm talking to my minister, my attorney, my mom. I mean, what? How do you? So what are those, credentials they're going to have to come up with to be designated worthy? I don't know.
I think there's a process for everybody to get through that. I just, I don't see it being a quick process because of the nature of what it is.
But anyway, that's all I got in opening comments. If you want to take on, if anybody's got questions that are possible for an answer, let's jump on them. See what we can do.
Okay. We're going to take a few, we've got, let's see, it's 5:37 on the East Coast. We'll run until the top of the hour. Just keep in mind, if we say we can't talk about it, we can't talk about it, okay? And we really do mean well for all of you, seriously. It's the way it goes. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
I assume that in the RV we are the 4th tier, and that tiers 1, 2, and 3 have already been hydrated. Is that correct?
Can't verify that. All I can do is, if I did, I'll be perpetuating a rumor. I've heard that tiers 1 and 2, that's foreign account reserve, foreign sovereign account reserves, foreign accounts, the big players, they call them the whales. The wealthy, tier 4 being the public. That's the dictation that's out there.
Right.
Whether it be true or not, I'm a big one because I just spent a lot of time in Missouri. I got to see it.
Okay.
I'm a skeptic. I want to see that money where it's visible. We should see indicators. We should see our jobs, the jobless rate should go down. We should be out of that 6% down into 4, 5, 2%. We should see housing booms, vehicle purchases. The market should rise. Because the market's going to go down first. You're going to, just like a tidal wave, and big tsunami, all the water sucks out first. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen with cash. So that's a good example. It's going to suck out, and then you see this big flood come in. Haven't seen any of that. So simple answer, yeah. Tier 4 is designated as public.
Okay. But we're not necessarily waiting on a body to give an announcement if these tiers are already so-called.
No.
Okay.
Those are distractions and redirect. That's a misdirection. Everybody wants to pull something up. I can give you a half a dozen of them just in the past few months. Minutia getting signed in, waiting for the health care bill to pass. Taking more muzzle back. It's just, there's like they pick whatever the flavor is for the day and say, well, he has to do this. Or the body was over here last month and signed off on his in-house currency. In-border currency is different than exterior currency. Outside the border to Iraq. So what happens in Iraq happens in Iraq. It's like Vegas. What happens in Iraq stays in Iraq. It's their outside sovereign debt that we will be settling on. So you got to remember, the U.S. dollar is pegged to the Iraqi dinar. As the dinar moves, so does the U.S. dollar. So keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, another question is that are y'all sending out numbers yet?
Numbers?
Yeah, for to be that the numbers that you assign us that we
control numbers for projects. No.
Oh, you haven't?
No, some have gone out, but we're waiting to capitalize up because we need a very large staff and IP system to control it.
Okay.
We have been hacked and butchered so many times that there's a safety issue.
Okay. All right, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you much. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question. Having trouble hearing you. If your line's muted. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Hello, Doug and Will in Jersey. This is Ron. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm not muted. Yeah, I came into the call late, but I'm recording. There's a lot of things I could say, and I want to thank you guys all for what you've done and how you've hung in this whole thing all this time. I think the one thing I want to comment on is that people's health is probably one of the most important things here. A lot of people have been stressed out over these last couple of years, particularly those people, as you mentioned before, that need some medical attention and haven't had the funds available to obtain it. You know, I'm an out-of-the-box wellness practitioner, and I've come up with what I call my 5 top healing modalities that I think people should pay attention to help restore their health. They're not necessarily anything that the conventional medical establishment would want to sell you, but they include special nutritional supplements. They include the pulsed electromagnetic mats, including the Beamer mat. They include certain devices that will supply full spectrum harmonic resonance to people, to water, to nutrition, to food, whatever. But I think that what Doug was referring to was probably that putting your house in order means taking care of your own health first and the health of those folks around you. And some people are going to seek out conventional medical care. If that's their path, then that's the path they need to take. But there are so many alternatives and new systems, methods, approaches to understanding health that are coming out that I think people should take a very deep look at what's available as opposed to what the consensus people would give you just to sell you a bill of goods and not necessarily approach your own personal health situation in the most logical and effective way. So I don't know. That is, I guess, my input.
Well, thank you, Ron. We appreciate that. We've got. Have you got a question for us, real quick? Before we've only got a limited time today, so we want to get to as many as we can.
That's it. I want to let you go, and we'll listen. And those folks who want to get in touch with me, you know how they can get in touch with me. So thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you much. Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Yes, sir. Maybe Doug might be able to answer this better. Will, I'm not sure. I've heard from a source that, and I know the source is deep into government, and the story goes that there's going to be a collapse sometime in September, maybe August, late August, and but the exchange or global reset will actually happen and occur before that, and that once you get your money into the bank, if we have that collapse that they're talking about, you lose it. You're going to lose most of your money. Is that has anybody addressed that or heard anything like that?
Well, if you follow Mr. Reichert, he's been talking about it for the past 3 years. Just looking at the system and the nature of what's going on in today's global environment. We are kind of predetermined, self-fulfilled prophecy. The nature of our banking industry and how it started had a finite life to it. It wasn't something that could be perpetual. It was doomed from the beginning. From when we went to the fractional monetary system, we jumped into the global currency reserve, the whole concept of a global currency reserve, the Medici or the Medici banks back in the 1500s, when they actually started global banking. If you just look at it, how it all worked, it was already doomed. Reichert's already preached it and says to watch it. For the event to occur, you need the markets to drop and to go barren. You need a rush of cash withdrawal from the bank. You need all that in order for this to happen. All those things are happening. And a lot of the things that we deal with are not publicized. the major things that go on financially on the planet, you don't know about. The average person will never know about it. It will not be publicized. The panic that it would create, I mean, we go back to a tribal system. It would create that much beauty. See governmental collapse globally if some was even a fraction of what really goes on gets out. How many times have we been close to DEFCON 5 in the financial system? We will never know. It's something I really always believed in, that I would actually express out to people in that what we hear is what they want us to hear. It's a cause and effect scenario with any media. There is nothing that's just off the hook. The advent of communications with the network, you know, with communications and availability of information and things that were suppressed earlier. If you're watching, now they're trying to take control over the internet. So what do? You create problems that give them cause to close down the internet and to put more controls over the internet. That won't happen a day at a time. That happens one bite at a time over a period of time. These controls slowly start getting put in place. And they get that, so it goes unnoticed. It's kind of like when you get married, you know, and you weigh 150 pounds, and 20 years later you're 250 pounds, but the wife doesn't notice because she saw you grow a pound at a time, missed it. You know, it's the same thing. We expect to see these things in this crash, but it'll be a nibble. And I think they've already have the solution for it. They're creating the problem because they already have the solution. It's like a boat that people are drilling holes in, and another boat's already on its way to pick people up before the first hole was even sprung. There's already a boat on the way to save everything. So I don't think you're going to see that. You're not going to see this collapse. Because once it collapses, you can't rebuild it. If you had total collapse, you can't rebuild it. If we deal without electricity in this country for, 5 days, we couldn't come out of it. There'd be such total mayhem everywhere. You couldn't get gas for your car, couldn't go to the bank, get money, couldn't buy water, couldn't buy food, couldn't pay your bills, electricity was shut off. I mean, with electricity shut off, all that damage, that in itself, could go out. So if you look how fragile things are, nobody wants to take down the boat that they're on. The boat that floats, that runs the world, you can't sink the whole thing. Because how do you repair it? How do you gather the flock back up once you take the fences down? It's like herding cats. I mean, you're just not going to be able to do it. Every man for himself will go back to survival mode. So no, that doom and gloom, don't believe it. That's speculation and kind of reading what's going on now with the information given to us and the paradigm that's been created. If we monitor that behavior, it's doom and gloom. But what's not known and what's not seen is the fixes that are being put in place around it, which I believe these events that we're talking about with assets and currency restructuring and financial restructuring and debt relief globally, those are the fixes. So once they come up, you got a new building. The old building fell down, but the new one's already 3/4 of the way built.
Okay.
So no.
Well, the reason I ask is I just know, as broke as I am and desperate financially, I didn't know if I should just do a portion of my currency when it happens. And then, after there's an adjustment into a new system and everybody knows it, if it hasn't tanked, then I would, or tanked, if it did tank, I would then wait till the new monetary system came into play and then exchange the rest of it. So that was.
I wouldn't steer you. Yeah, I wouldn't steer you one way or the other. They'd be giving you financial advice, and I don't want that on my shoulders.
Right. I understand.
Not authorized or licensed to do it.
It depends on what it is that you're seeking too. I mean, there's some people that may have well, as example, a dinar currency, but maybe they're looking for Chinese yuan, and they want to swap to that. It just depends on what kind of currency you want to hold. It's a global world, so
Right.
you can choose what you'd like to do. We can't really advise you one way or the other, but I agree with Doug. There are things being put in place right now to prevent the total catastrophe.
Okay. Well, that's the main thing that I was concerned with, and I kind of figured the same thing, that you pull the plug on the dollar and tell everybody that they had 100,000 in the bank, and now they've got 10. Everything's going to collapse around it. That's kind of an issue.
Yeah, we're not going to be a country of Bernie Madoffs. I actually talked to people that were invested in Bernie Madoff and the settlements that they got. Oh, that was hard.
Oh, wow.
I bet. Well, guys, I appreciate your help, your answer.
Thank you much for calling in.
Take care.
Hello, you're on the line. We'll take your question.
Yes, I had a question about the capital controls that I heard you talking about. I'm concerned about that. I don't understand how these projects are even going to work if we can't move this money around. I mean, is there something being done to address that?
Well, that's the thing that we know.
Caller's answer.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off there, but just the capital controls are necessary when an economy is on the verge of collapse. But if you get the remedies put in place, the need for those controls go away, at least the heavy controls. We all know that there's been various banking systems that have had financial control of the world for a long time, hundreds of years. We don't expect that to just immediately go away. But there is options available. That's why we think people should go to explore their options, is to look at other jurisdictions, other countries, other things to find their own path of reassurance, if you will.
Like, I have manufacturing experience. I've been working at a plant for 2 years as a VA, and I know all about supply chain. But I'm sitting here listening to this and going, I can't do any of this because they're going to stop it. And America needs it. We know we're going to have to become a manufacturing country again. I thought that was the whole point of all this.
One of the points of all this. But the flow of the money, see, again, they create the problem. We've taken the exception to the rule. We had a hurricane hit on the East Coast, so everybody on the West Coast has to hurricane-proof their house. So it's an exception to the rule, not relative. These bad guys and the flow of the terrorist monies, the druggies and the drug monies, the ill-gotten gains, the money laundering. It's really on a global scale. It is a drop in the bucket of the problem. But they use that to put the controls in on everyone. They're taking the exception to the rule and called it the rule. And there's a difference between law and rules. There's banking laws and there's rules. Banks follow their own rules, but all banks have to follow the banking laws. And what laws were put in place because of situations that came up and this was the counter to handle those situations. It's not going to stop anything. All it does is be able to track where money comes from and track where the money is going. Send to a receiver. If you're a business and all your credentials are turned in, the bank has all your credentials, where your money goes to vendors or whoever else that you pay, that's established, you have no problems. It flows. In fact, it becomes somewhat automated. You got to remember, none of this stuff are these control mechanisms. A lot of it is done some of it's done by people, but normally speaking, it's algorithms within the computer systems of the banks. It's firewalls and borders that were set up like on Wall Street. The Wall Street will shut down if they see a certain stock is going crazy in one day. There's borders built in to shut that stock down. So you see currency manipulations or stock manipulation. They have borders built into the system. But it isn't a human sitting there watching the screen. Say, this one doesn't look good. It's built into the firewall and the algorithms of the banking system. If every day I go to 5 different places, I use my debit card. My normal thing, I get gas, I go to the grocery store, maybe go rent a movie. But those algorithms are created, and this happens to everybody. Algorithms are created on my spending habits. Then all of a sudden, my debit card wants to buy a car on the East Coast. Oh, boom, it all gets shut down. If I start sending out tens of thousands of dollars out of my account, and it's not normal because of what has been created by the algorithms, that's not normal in my account, it'll shut down. Those are the things that are put in place. Now, if you know what the criteria is for your money to flow, business, your banker should know that, who handles your business accounts. They know the right things to fill out so your money flows smoothly. Same things will happen with project funding, too. As long as the right information is inputted and it's all archived into the algorithms, there's no problems. It's the bad guys who got $10 billion of drug money in cash and what the hell to do with it. They can't just go put it in the bank anymore.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, thank you
much for calling in. Doug, I like your explanation of that. I thought it was well done. It can be easy to let our fears run away with us, that everything's going to go south and we're going to lose all opportunities. But we don't see that happening, people. And if you're conducting business, which projects are legitimate business, we don't see any issues. Once funds begin to move, we're continuing to keep that project going. I think that would be a very massive exception to the rule. In fact, it's the opposite of what they want. The more business that you do, more money the banks make. They'd prefer to have it. So we don't see that as being an issue. The things that they're looking for, though, are the unexpected things that isn't your typical behavior like Doug talked about. So we're out of time today, folks. We appreciate those that have called in and have been participating with us. And we thank each of you for the work that you're doing. Each one of you is making choices every day to bless the world, and we know it. We see, we hear from you, and we applaud you. We thank you for that. I certainly appreciate the work that everyone is doing to get this done. This is a group of great people that come together to make the world better, and it's a blessing for us all. I want to thank you for being here each Wednesday and being with us. My love and prayers go with you every day. And Doug, I'll give you some final thoughts.
Well, okay. Everyone that's facing this desperation that's creeped into your body, for those of you that are desperate, if you're not desperate and there's people around you that are desperate, it can't help but affect you. If you change the way you look at things, you change the way things look. Okay? You really have to look at the blue skies and the green grass. It's not always there, but if you look hard enough, it's there. Getting through the struggle, if you did not go through this, you would not appreciate what's about to come to you. It's an easy thing to say, armchair quarterback type of a deal, but you really have to feel this pain in order to do the right thing when the time comes. Whether the Lord did it, government did it, don't care who did it. If we're in those positions that we put ourselves into, blame yourself, blame no one else around you. It's a good thing. All things can go good at any minute. Remember, if you look into the sun, there's a dot of blackness. You don't even see it. But if you look into the dark and you see a dot of light, you can see it 100 miles off. The light always shines through. The light will never lose. The white hats will win. Goodness will overcome. And we will be out there helping people and thereby helping ourselves. We will bring to you as much detail as we can. We have people, I talk to people all over the world and try to get accurate, good information. And I always ask if I can pass it on. So as things come out, and it's publicly known, but you may not have seen it, I'll be able to talk and speak to it. Give you a little bit more heads up of what's going on, and I think it'll put you in a lot different state, a different frame of mind. Even though you might not be sitting on a lot right now, what's about to happen is going to make your day, and those that you love and care about. So until next week, thank everyone.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate your comments as always. Folks, we'll see you again next Wednesday at the same time. Until then, have a great one. Bye-bye.